How's it going, everybody? My name is Artorigold, and today I will be going over a user-submitted VOD. This is going to be somewhere in the Platinum level and going to be over a Symmetra. So, one of the good things about Symmetra is she's very strong on defense, especially on 2CP maps. Hanamara in particular, it's very strong for Symmetra. One thing that I like that you did, and I think every Symmetra player should do at the beginning of the game, is apply some turrets somewhere around the choke points or somewhere around where you can get ult charge, and then when the enemy destroys them, you can put up new ones at a different location. Just a really nice, easy way to get some ult charge at the beginning of the game. What you want to be doing is you want to just constantly shoot fully charged right clicks at the enemy when they are moving in. I don't like how you shot your turret quite at them right there. Your turret, if you shoot it, it can be destroyed mid-air, and it's pretty easy to do, especially if you're shooting it at a choke point. One of the things that you could do if you have a spare turret, say you have two of them that are already up, and you're looking to, you're not really sure what to do with the third one. One of the things that you can do is you can actually throw a teleporter down behind the enemy backline, and you could throw your teleporter up somewhere where it would hit an enemy, and then you could shoot your Symmetra turrets into the teleporter and it'll go and fly out of that direction. Or you could try to put it in a spot, kind of aim it on the ground of the teleporter itself, and when you do that, then the sentry gun is going to just stand on the ground of the exit of the teleporter. So it's a pretty interesting way to get some extra ult charge. Maybe you can get a little aggressive and go through the teleporter and maybe hit the enemy backline when they don't expect it, and then use the teleporter to get out. Kind of a really interesting tactic that takes a lot of practice to do effectively, but it's really strong for gaining ult charge. Even if you don't get that much, it's pretty good if you just use it with your third turret. If you already have two turrets set up on like a really good location, and the third one isn't quite necessary, then you can use it more aggressively into the enemy for ult charge, or to even go for a potential kill if someone's low in the backline. So all around with that fight, I think you played it pretty well. Moving your turrets to the control point while it is being contested is very, very powerful. So one of the things that I really like that you do here is that you put 3 turrets up right at the big initial choke point. So when the enemy team just gets done with taking the first point on a 2CP map, their first push is generally going to be their strongest push onto the point, especially if they're able to get the point really quickly and they win it on the first try, because in that case, the enemy team will have the advantage on the ult economy, meaning they will probably have more ults than you, and that first push can be really crucial to get like a really big snowball because of that ult advantage. So what I really like here is that you're putting all 3 of your turrets right out that initial gate. You're putting it all so they can try and shoot when anybody tries to move in, and that's really good. And other locations would probably be better, but on the first push, I think putting these turrets right here is perfect, because it's very likely that the enemy team isn't going to take their time and go all the way up here. Hanzo, of course, people that can get onto the windows are the exception, such as a Widow or a Hanzo, because those people will get up here with their mobility moves, so you can't really do too much about that. But you're going to look to use your Symmetra turrets are strongest on tanks and supports, because it takes them a long time to try and deal with the turrets, especially a Reinhardt. Reinhardt kind of has a really difficult time reaching the turrets. If you place them, really high up, they can't really do anything about it. Really difficult for some supports too, because it takes them more than one shot. For example, with a Lucio, you got to make sure that you can hit it more than just one little green orb, or whatever you want to call it. So using those to slow down the tanks is really good, because it takes them a lot of time to deal with it, and slowing down a tank means slowing down the entire team too. So here what you want to do is, I would probably move my sentries depending on where the enemy team is going. Perfect, yeah, if the enemy team is going up top left, then I would put my sentries top left. One of the things that I wouldn't do though, I wouldn't put my sentries that close together. It's very easy to get rid of them if they're super close. I probably would have put maybe one there, and then maybe I could have put it like over here, or maybe even further over here. I would have tried to move the location. You can even put them on the ground or something like that. Try to get creative with the turret placements, and always try to put them in different spots, because even if the turret's like over here, it can still shoot the Reinhardt just as good as it can over here, and that's 2 different locations, and it makes it a lot more difficult to try and get rid of your sentries. So that's something I would definitely look to try and do as Symmetra. Try to put your turrets a little bit more spread apart. So your ultimate usage was pretty good, but I don't think it was necessary. I feel like maybe you need to save your ult for more defensive purposes. Using your sentry turrets that location is really good because you just use your ultimate, so now you're at 0 ult charge, and you need to focus on getting your ult charge. That is a big thing that you need to worry about right now. You want to use as many right clicks as possible and try to get aggressive turrets. I would like to see you use your teleporter turret combo to try and get some aggressive charge that way, and using it on a support who has a difficult time getting rid of them. Because you can even unload like all 3 turrets at a support too, which can do a pretty decent amount of damage if you can follow it up with a right click too. So that's what I would like to see happen. But overall, with your ultimate usage in that fight, I don't think it was too ideal. I think Symmetra ult should be used in defensive situations. The enemy team is running a hit scan player such as McCree, Soldier, or Widowmaker, and Hanzo kind of. He's not a hit scan, but I mean, you want to use your ult to stop those long-range characters from being able to do damage. So ideally, if they have those hit scan players or a sniper like Hanzo, then you want to use your ult that'll make sure to cut them off from all of their damage. Because they like to sit up on the high ground, and putting them somewhere, like for example that McCree right there on the high ground, I probably would have used my ultimate just to try and cancel the effects of his high noon and make sure nobody would die from it. I would use it for things like tactical visor for a soldier. If I know where a Widowmaker is, I'll try to just use the wall somewhere where she won't be able to hit my team. Basically, your ult, I would like to think of it as just a damage mitigation ability that really just cancels, it can cancel a lot of abilities. It's not going to stop things like Dragon Strike, it's going to just go right through it. EMP actually cancels your wall completely. A Bastion will not be able to take care of your wall before the duration ends. Maybe if he gets a nano boost it will, or a damage boost from a Mercy. But one of the weird things that has enough damage output to get rid of a Symmetra wall is if a Whole Hog, Roadhog ult actually is used. That actually does more damage than a Bastion just holding down left click, believe it or not. And it will be actually, it can tear through a Symmetra wall if other people are helping at it. I mean, if Bastion's having a lot of people shooting through a wall, then that's kind of helpful. But I mean, ultimately, it's kind of a waste. That's 5,000 health barrier. There's not a whole lot of people who are going to try and shoot through that. It's kind of a complete waste of time to sit there as Bastion or Roadhog and use your ultimate, or to just hold down left click to try and shoot down a Symmetra wall. It's not what you want to do. It's better to just move to a different location. So EMP can be a big thing that you have to worry about as Symmetra. I think EMP is extremely devastating ability, and your wall can really help save your team. Similar to how a Lucio or a Zenyatta will want to hide. If there's an enemy Sombra and you know they have EMP, or you're really expecting it, I would try to hide with your ultimate. Wait till you hear EMP and then go out from whatever corner or whatever rock you're hiding from, then use your ultimate. Or since your ultimate is kind of global, you can use it from wherever you're hiding directly to help your team immediately as soon as possible, as long as you do it when the EMP is over. So that's a really good tactic that I would use against Sombra. I think Sombra is extremely meta right now. She's really powerful. So saving your barrier to when that happens will work. It's kind of like a defensive ult. Symmetra ult is very similar to a defensive ult. It has a lot of utility, but it's not a pure defensive ult. I would still say Transcendence and Lucio Beat is definitely the definition of a defensive ult. But I think the barrier for Symmetra can be used defensively in a really, like, a lot of powerful ways depending on what the enemy team is running, and that's how I think it's best used. But I would note what its weaknesses are. Its weaknesses, Graviton and Dragon Strike, are very big weaknesses. It's going to go right through. The Dragon doesn't care about it at all. And of course, EMP just completely gets rid of it, so I wouldn't worry about that. But every other ability in the game, I think more will go through it. So those are the things that you can't really do anything about, but every other thing is very useful. So I really like your teleporter. I think the teleporter can be a really useful thing that not only you, but your team could use in a variety of ways on offense. It can help you get through the choke point, which can be really difficult to deal with, not just you, but for your whole team. I don't like that teleporter. That teleporter didn't really go anywhere. I would have liked to see a little bit better teleport. Yeah, that teleporter wasn't very good. You couldn't have done that. One of the things that I've seen and some good strategies with the teleporter is when you're at the choke point, you can just use your teleport. This is specific to Hanamura Point 1. It might work on other maps, but specifically on this map, what some Symmetra strategies are, you make sure you have a very Death Ball or Goats comp, you know, the Brig, the Rhine, the Zarya. And what you could do is when you're at the choke point, you can actually use your teleporter and get it somewhere around here and have your whole team take it and then just walk right onto point. And it's going to bypass any of the enemies who are over here or here, anywhere near this choke area. And you're just going to go right to point. And now you have the advantage because usually the healers will probably position themselves like right here. You might have like a hit scan player on the high ground ramp here or on top of that hut. Very rarely that you'll see anybody over on this bridge. So most of the time, the enemies are going to be right here and they're going to have to start running towards you. And while that's happening, you can go and focus on the healers who are in the back line in this area. And that makes for a very strong attack and very like... the enemy team won't expect it, so it's very powerful. So now that you're on the point, putting your turrets is a must for on the control point. It's really powerful to just put them wherever you can in different locations, spread them out, and it's really easy to kind of hold down the fort on a control point with a Symmetra. So really good usage of your turret there. I like that a lot. Seems like your team is going to be getting a little aggressive. Using your teleporter just kind of get to points faster can be good. I like using it to also get onto high ground. One of the things about this map is because there's a left side of the map, what you could do is you could also try to communicate to your team to all group up, and you can use your teleporter to get on the left side that normally isn't able to be crossed by a lot of characters. Otherwise, some other strategies that you could do the same thing where when you get to the choke, you can actually just use your teleporter to get right onto the point again. If it works really well the first time, then why wouldn't try it again, try it a second time, because maybe the enemy team isn't able to respond to it. So you could put a teleporter to go right to the point again, which can be pretty effective, or you could try to get into one of the windows to the left or to the right, or you can even try to use a teleporter here and go to the high ground up there and avoid the tunnel completely. So when you're playing Symmetra, really the creativity is like it's endless, right? You have so many possibilities for movement as a team with the teleporter that you don't have normally. The only issue is getting your team to group up with you and take those teleporters. That's the only big problem that you're going to have with Symmetra. So getting people who might be frustrated or tilted because of the Symmetra pick to listen to your voice comms or listen to what you're saying with your teleporter can be kind of frustrating for you as well. But you just need to remain positive, have that PMA, positive mental attitude, and try your best to be as friendly and have good shot calls and try to communicate with your team. If you're not using voice chat and you're not communicating at all with Symmetra, then I think the frustration levels are going to definitely rise and people aren't going to use your teleporter to the maximum efficiency. So one of the things that I think you should be doing in this instance that I like to talk about is I think because you only need 1 tick in order to get to the point, and you have plenty of time. What I would be doing is I would probably just using my teleporter at the main choke and trying to go right to the point. Even if it doesn't work the first time, I would communicate to your team to make it a dry push. Now what that means is it's basically just don't use any ultimates, save them, and try to bait out as many ultimates of the enemy team as possible so you'll get the ultimate advantage. So if the enemy team uses a bunch of big ults or a defensive ult, maybe you just need to wait for the enemy team to get rid of their defensive ult, such as a Lucio or a Zen ult, and then as soon as that happens, then you can just regroup, then use all of your damage ults on the enemy team as you go to try and take the point, and then that can kind of secure a win that way since their defensive ult is gone. So one of the things about getting the high ground, it's pretty decent, it's good, but you have Symmetra, Lucio, Genji, Hammond, and a Widowmaker, probably a main healer as well, right? What is it? You have somebody back there. You should probably be waiting for them, even though you do have a good pick on the Reinhardt right now. Who is that right over there? I'm not sure which your team is running. I think this is your Widowmaker. But I think that might be your main healer, right? What is that, an Ana? Or something like that. It must be an Ana. Yeah. So you have your main healer over there, so I would definitely be waiting in this instance. Being down a main healer is so bad. I mean, getting the main tank is good, but I don't think it's as much value because they have much quicker respawns, and this guy is clearly really far behind. So what I would be doing here, I would probably look to do a dry push, try and bait as many enemy ults as possible, and then, well, actually, if your Lucio frags out and get a pick on the Mercy, and they're down the Reinhardt, then maybe I'd take that back. And you get the Blade, so you're committing ults, so here definitely committing your ult is good, and you have the advantage. If you're up 2, that's great. Oh, that was a Brig, so you're running a Brig Lucio for heals. Okay, you're doing really well. I like that you committed your ultimate this fight. Oh, it's so close to getting that Mercy. You actually have a lot of health here. One of the things that you could be doing is you could be using your left click on barriers like Winstonberry to get your charge up. What you want to be doing here is ramping up your left click charge damage as much as possible. It basically secures a win if you can do that because your damage ramp is just really deadly, very scary. Hopefully your team can pull through with this. They're getting a lot of kills. I think you screwed up a little bit by throwing out too many right clicks. I think you should have focused on doing more left click damage there, and you would have stayed alive and done more damage. I like the ult from spawn. Okay, so your team ended up taking the point, which was really good. Overall, with this fight, I want to go back and talk about the fight. So overall, at the beginning of this fight, you're doing some harass damage. You're trying to get to your ult. You're at 82%. And it looks like what actually happened prior to the fight is you had a Brig Lucio for heals, and your Brig got charged by the enemy Reinhardt, and then you're able to, as 6 people, finish off that Reinhardt. So this is kind of a risky situation. You have your ult. It appears that you had Genji Blade, Lucio ult because those were used in the fight. We already saw that. But what's really unfortunate here is you're down your Brig. So right now you're solo heal Lucio, even though you got the pick on the main tank. I still think it's a very dangerous idea to kind of commit all of your ults to this fight at this point. So it's good that you're not doing that yet. If you were to get a very good pick here after this one and you continue to snowball from that, then you can commit ults, and I think that's really smart if you do that. But you also have to be very careful here because you're really lacking heals. You only have a solo heal Lucio. So using your barrier is extremely important. At this moment, you need to decide if you need to use your ultimate or not. If you have the advantage and you're committing ults, you need to just throw your ultimate out there as quickly as possible because it will be basically the biggest damage mitigation that you're going to have when taking this point, and it's something you will desperately need since you're on solo heal Lucio. So right here, you have 2 picks. The Reinhardt, the main tank, is dead, and the Mercy is dead. That's pretty huge. It's now a one-man advantage for your fight, and you're going on to the point. Here, I would be throwing my ultimate out immediately because it's going to be the big damage mitigation ability that you're going to have. It's going to prevent the Ana from getting heals out, and it's going to help keep you guys alive because you do not have heals. You have a solo heal Lucio, and that is not going to be enough. Focusing on left-click damage is really good. There you go. I would have used that ultimate a little bit earlier. It might have saved somebody's life, or maybe it might have even just like been the difference. Ah, you got EMP, which is unfortunate. Your left click damage is huge here. I would just focus on left clicks. Putting your turrets out there if you don't have, if you see some of them die. So here, I wouldn't be spamming my right click. I maybe would be reloading, but I would get right back into the action. In fact, I would probably even put a teleporter somewhere from here because you got pushed away from a whole hog. And I think putting a teleporter to get back into the fight can be really good, so you can go and continue to do more damage. And at the same time, since you're lacking healing, someone who's maybe at low health can take the teleporter to disengage, go get the mega health pack right to your right, and then they could go back onto the point after they heal. So your teleporter has two functions in that instance. It helps you do more damage quicker, less travel time, and helps anybody have an option to disengage to the mega health pack if they need it. Reapplying your sentries is something you always want to do. Your sentries are going to be really powerful, slowing. If not doing a damage, it's going to slow people, and you want to just make sure to throw out more left clicks and not look to do right click damage. You want to focus on left clicks. That's definitely what I would have done there. I probably would have played around these pillars a little bit more because similar to Zenyatta, half your health can be recharged because it's blue shields. So if you just kind of hide left and right, peek in and out, hold down left click, apply turrets in this situation, you can get a little bit of health back through healing. You probably would have lived long enough to get that ult charge too because your turrets are also still up and alive and doing damage, as you can see. So you probably would have been able to stay alive and do a turret. I mean, you were able to come back alive and use your ultimate from spawn, which is good, but of course you don't want to use it from spawn. Another option you could have done there instead of dying is you could have used your teleporter to try and escape and disengage from them, because the enemy team on a 2CP map, they have to stay on the point. They can't get off the point because it's only one tick. So using the teleporter in that situation to just completely disengage, if they decide to chase you at low health, that could be beneficial because then they might just C9. So in that situation, that's what I would have tried to do. Use the teleporter to escape. You definitely lacked teleporter usage in that last fight, and I think you could have used the left clicks more, the right clicks less, and keep the sentry turrets up. You definitely want to keep maximum turret uptime. So overall, in summary with Symmetra, I think it was pretty good turret placement. I think you did a really good job of building your ult very quickly. I think you used your ult pretty good. I think I would work on it and use it a little bit earlier in fights, only because your team comp needed that damage mitigation because you were running very low heals with a Brig Lucio heal combo. So your ult is basically what's going to really help keep your team alive in that situation. I also would have liked to see you use your teleporter a lot more. I felt like you really lacked the teleporter usage. You can use it to get the high ground. You can use it with your team to try and get to really crazy locations on high ground. You can just use it to get your team onto the point quicker and bypass all the choke points entirely. So these are things I would definitely look to try and fix. Using voice chat can be really helpful to get your team to use those teleporters, and that's something I would try to work on as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope I helped you out a little bit, and I'll see you guys next time.